Okay, this is our book talk video, and I'm going to share with you some books that are in my library, which I have probably about 5,000, no joke. So you can feel free to put these on your list, and I will find a way to get one of them to you. So that can be your first book. I am using my phone. Oh, yes, this didn't work. So I'm not very good with technology. You'll learn this. So the first book that I have that kids seem to like is Upside Down in the Middle of Nowhere. And I think this one deals with a girl that is moving. I have not read this one, but lots of kids have liked it. The next one is Alan Gratz's Grenade. Now, this one is pretty cool. It takes place in World War II and has two alternating characters. One is an army person named Ray, and another one is a young Okinawan boy in the country of Japan on the island of Okinawa. And they kind of encounter each other. They're both kind of fighting on two different sides, and you're going to find some of the interesting things that the young boys have to do. They're told, here's a grenade, go out and fight, and even if you end up, the last thing you do is setting off the grenade, even if it takes your own life, it's fine. Lots of kids love this Alan Gratz book. Focused is about a girl that has ADHD, and at school she has a really hard time paying attention and gets really confused with things, and it's kind of like her trying to make it through school. Kids have loved this one. No Passengers Beyond This Point is an interesting kind of science fiction time travel book. I have not read it, but again, it's another popular. Masterminds. This one's kind of cool. It's about a city in Texas. I believe it's called Paradise. And like everything is perfect until these kids find out you can't leave it. So it's kind of this interesting Gordon Corman story about these kids realizing that maybe their perfect town isn't exactly that perfect. Terror at Bottle Creek. I have lots of these horror fantasy books. So this one actually, I believe, takes place in the state of Maine, and kids have loved this one. And I believe the two main characters are on a canoe, and they're canoeing a river, and they end up taking a wrong turn on the river, a wrong tributary. Killer Pizza. This one's a little bit older, but it's basically about how aliens take over a pizza shop. And when it first came out, kids loved it. I haven't had much interest yet, but I think it's still a really good book. Matched by Ali Condell. She has a series. This is a trilogy, and it's kind of like a dystopian society, like what could happen. And I've had a lot of readers love to make it through the 3 books. I Am Princess X. This one's kind of cool. It's about a young girl that has a best friend, and they created this comic book character, Princess X. But they were the only ones that knew about that comic book character. And unfortunately and devastatingly, the character's best friend dies in a car accident. And the other character decides she's not going to pursue her comics anymore. But then a couple years later, she's strolling through the city and she notices this sign for I Am Princess X. And it talks about, and she's like, wait a minute, where did this come from? Because nobody knew this except myself and my best friend that died. It's got some graphic novel in it too. It's kind of cool. Stranded is written by Jeff Probst, and he's the host of Survivor on TV. And this book also has a sequel, but it's basically kids stranded on a deserted island. Prisoner B3087 is another Alan Gratz book that the kids love. It takes place during World War II, and I believe it's about a young boy that's trying to defy the Nazis, and I believe he gets imprisoned in a concentration camp, or one of the work labor camps. Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds is just a story about a neighborhood, by a New York City neighborhood, and the different tales of the different types of people that live in a New York City neighborhood. Iron Trial. This is a hot series. I think there's 4 books. I have not read this one, but last year the kids were dying over this one. They loved it. So you can tell by the cover it's got kind of a quest going on in it. Maybe some dark society happening, that skull face there. My Year in the Middle is about a young girl growing up, I believe in the 1960s, and school is desegregated. That means both black and white students are finally in school together, but they're still kind of separate. Black students hang out with the black students, and the white students hang out with the white students. And this young girl is Latino, or is from Mexico, I believe, and she just doesn't know where she fits in because she doesn't fit in with the black crowd or the white crowd. The One and Only Ivan. I believe they have a movie of this on Disney now. I have not seen it yet. This is one of my favorite books. It's definitely an easier read, but it's about a gorilla, and it's told from the point of view of the gorilla that lives inside a cage at a rundown mall. They have a little circus in there, and there's an elephant, and there's a puppy, a stray dog that lives inside the mall. There's a custodian who cleans the mall, and the gorilla kind of just tells his life story growing up inside of the cage. Wildfire. This is a new Rodman Philbrook, and it takes place in Maine, and it's about 2 kids that are at summer camp, and a wildfire breaks out, and they end up missing the bus that takes the kids to safety. So the main character is this young boy, and he ends up finding Delphi, this young girl out there, and they both kind of had similar stories. They were at 2 different camps, and they end up seeing that the fires are being set on purpose, and they're not only running from the fire, they're running from the people who are setting the fires. They have no way to communicate with anyone. They're just trying to make it to safety. Warcross by Marie Lu. I haven't read this, but it's as if you're inside a video game. It says Player, Hunter, Hacker. Kids have loved this, and it does have a sequel. Scar Island is probably one of my favorites by Dan Gunheimert. It's about a group of boys that are sent to a juvenile detention center in Maine, another Maine book, and they end up, it's a really strict camp, and it looks like a rundown dungeon. It's on an island in the middle of the bay, and while they're there, the people that run the camp, who aren't very nice, end up getting electrified by lightning on the rooftop while standing in water. And the boys then are stuck on this island by themselves, and some of them are really not so great kids, and others are kind of just there by accident. And it's kind of how they work together. I highly, highly recommend this one. Crossover. This is a verse novel, and it is about a young boy on a basketball team, and the sports kids love this one. So there's a whole bunch. There's Booked and a bunch of other crossover series books by Kwame Alexander. The Last Kids on Earth is a zombie type book, and the kids are fighting zombies. It's kind of graphic novel-ish and a story. Out of My Mind is about a young girl named Melody that has cerebral palsy, which means that she can't walk around very well or talk very well. She's confined to a wheelchair, but her brain is actually above average. So inside, she's smarter than everyone and hates the condition that she's in because people think she's dumb, and she's not, and she just can't talk. And she can't walk, and so she's stuck inside this body. It's a great, great book. Easier read too. So I'm going to stop here. This will be Book Talk Video 1, and I will put on Book Talk Video 2 in a second.